Welcome back to Worldview. Now, continuing our series on progressive media voices, I'm pleased to welcome back David Pakman. He's host of the syndicated David Pakman Show on DirecTV and YouTube.com. David, thanks for joining us, and welcome back to the show.
Great to be here.
Now, David, first of all, tell everyone about the move and adjustment from, a small western Massachusetts town to now broadcasting from lower Manhattan and Austin, Texas. What do you see as the biggest pluses, and what do you miss the most about Massachusetts at this point?
Well, it's only been like a month, so I don't miss that much yet. I do kind of miss being able to watch the Red Sox on just like my regular cable package. So this weekend I'm going back to Massachusetts, back to Fenway Park actually, for the last Red Sox game of the season. So other than that, I mean, it's really great. You have access to absolutely everything here in New York, the networking opportunities, and as a small progressive show, I don't have a team of publicists making connections for me, so I really have to do whatever I can, and being here is a big part of that.
Now, David, I want to shift gears and talk about the news particularly about the D.C. Navy Yard shooting this week. And what we've seen is just another horrific display of mainstream media breathlessness as each network tries to outdo the other with inanity. I mean, I almost lost it when I saw a clip of the latest Fox and Friends news actress, The View's cast-off, Hasselbeck, whatever her name is, saying we now need a violent video game register as opposed to a gun register. Now, how on earth do we as progressives make enough noise to counter these voices?
Well, the video game thing I talked about today on my program, and I'm open to the idea that video games make people do violent things. I'm not rejecting it out of hand, but I've talked to numerous experts, academic experts, who study this, and there's absolutely no evidence that video games or violent movies or violent books or whatever the case may be make people actually commit violence in real life. So whether it's Hasselbeck or whether it's Ed Schultz last night holding up Grand Theft Auto 5 and in part blaming it for what happened on Monday, which by the way the game didn't come out until Tuesday, but putting that obvious detail aside, it doesn't make any sense to me. The reason why so many of these violent individuals are found to have played these games is that those who are already predisposed to be violent for whatever reason choose to play the games, but blaming video games for me is a distraction, and it's really, when it comes from people like Hasselbeck, it's part of this kind of puritanical, religious-based movement against anything that's remotely edgy, and it includes movies as well.
Oh, yeah, and this D.C. shooting is just a superfecta of hate possibilities for the right. I mean, we have a black man who hung out with Thai Buddhists, so therefore he must be a Muslim. And the left's trying to take our guns away. The shooter heard voices through the microwave. He suffered from PTSD after 9/11, first responding. I mean, it's another senseless mass shooting. So I have to ask, is now the time to finally have a discussion on guns and mental illness?
Well, it's been the time for a while, and the other issue that is also relevant with the Navy Yard shooting is veterans' health care, which, for all of the talk of supporting the troops from the American right, which supporting the troops seems to be magnets and ribbons, there's really not much supporting the troops when it comes to not sending them into harm's way unless it really makes sense. But after they come back, the health care that's provided is not adequate, funding is not appropriate, and that's really a conversation we should be having. But as far as the guns, like you mentioned, I think that at this point we know for sure there will never be a violent event tragic enough that gun enthusiast groups, I guess for lack of a better term, like the NRA and the GOA, will actually say maybe it's time to talk about restricting access to guns. The argument will be the more violence there is, the more guns we need to defend ourselves.
Sad, isn't it? And you're talking about the mental health issues for returning vets. It reminded me of all of the anti-abortion talk where they care about the fetus but not the child once it's born. I mean, it's a similar sort of situation. We're talking with David Pakman. He's host of the David Pakman Show on DirecTV and YouTube.com. Now, David, this move feels like a big attempt for you to stake a real claim as an independent voice for the future. I mean, I've watched you grow from 2 to 4 broadcasts per week. You're getting huge numbers of views and members. I really enjoy the Amazon items ordered segment. I think it's just brilliant. So really, what's next for you and for the program?
There's never really been any big steps that the show has taken. I mean, the moves have happened, but from when we had one radio affiliate and we were broadcasting from the basement of a community radio station in Massachusetts, it's been one step at a time. So people ask me, it must feel very different to do the show now than it did then. And it really doesn't, because from one day to another, there aren't big changes. So as we grow one station at a time or one viewer at a time, I kind of feel like I'm just doing the same thing. So it's funny, while I recognize looking back over the last many years that the show has grown and changed, the change has never really felt very significant. Even moving here over a weekend from Massachusetts to New York, come next Monday, I was doing the exact same show I did in Massachusetts the day before. So much has changed, but at the same time, so much has stayed the same, which I think is a good thing.
But you're in a good place, so it's safe to say you're probably at, for lack of a better word, I know you're in Lower Manhattan, ground zero for the midterms in 2016 election. You're much better positioned there for getting guests and being part of that bigger dialogue, right?
Well, that's part of the idea. I mean, the best times for us to make changes have been between elections, because we see the biggest growth right around an election. Midterms, but mostly presidential elections. So the timing of the move was not an accident, in the sense that we had the 2012 election, we had several months after that, and now is the time to get a head start on 2014 and 2016 to hopefully be ready to ride the next wave up to the next level.
And David, you know, we've seen the death of current TV and the continued corporatization and dilution of what used to be a progressive voice over at MSNBC. What does this all mean for progressive media going forward?
Well, there's a couple of ways to interpret it. The kind of pessimistic way would be that progressive ideas simply don't lend themselves well to a media structure that is also profitable, right? And I think that that's a pessimistic and kind of a sad commentary, right? And we've heard this before. Progressive ideas don't lend themselves as well to talk radio, for example, which is why most of the top American radio hosts are conservative. But I don't really know that that's the case. I think it's more about the demographics of the platforms. And hopefully with the advent of the internet, I mean, the disappearance of current TV is disappointing. At the same time, it's allowed for the entrance of Al Jazeera America to the U.S., and hopefully some investigative journalism will return. Investigative journalism, incredibly underfunded and made incredibly difficult by things like the ag-gag laws and so many other things. So I think that the horizon looks promising. There are a lot of things on the horizon if progressives are able to, instead of getting bogged down in cultural and political disagreements within the progressive media organizations, which sadly I've seen happen a lot at community media organizations, and just focus on the programming, there's many opportunities.
Well, you know, you mentioned Al Jazeera America, and you've obviously been guesting there, and that's an opportunity you now have since you've moved down there that may not have been possible. Of course, they weren't there when you were in Massachusetts, but it would have been more difficult for you had you stayed in Massachusetts. Are they likely to use more people like yourself and, say, Sam Cedar, who was on the program earlier this week, or perhaps even Cenk coming back, or do you see them going a more pure news route like in London and Doha?
I really have no idea. All I know is I was invited twice, and I gave my opinion, and that's, I kind of did what I could do. You're right that the tendency on Al Jazeera America has been to stray away from opinion and really focus on news. That being said, Al Jazeera America seems to be run kind of independently of the other news bureaus, and there seems to be an understanding that in addition to doing news reporting, it's compelling, it's interesting, it's valuable to have opposing views or simply varying expert opinions on different topics. So hopefully it'll be a mixed bag.
Other than the usual gang of talking heads, that's really good. Well, he's David Pakman. He's host of the syndicated David Pakman Show, now originating from Lower Manhattan on youtube.com/midweekpolitics, and the bonus show with producer Lewis in Austin, Texas. David, thanks for taking some time to join us this evening.
Pleasure to be here.
Oh, thanks. And by the way, he's got the best swag out there. No, really. I live in his show's hoodie when not here on the set. Visit his website, davidpakman.com. Now, when we return, progressive journalist Michael Brooks joins us to discuss Middle East coverage. You're watching Worldview with Dennis Campbell. Stay right here.